Rain fell in heavy sheets against the flickering streetlights of Osaka, transforming the city into a maze of glistening alleys and reflective puddles. In the dim light, whispers swirled like an untraceable mist, carried from one corner of the city to another. Some spoke of a disfigured woman with long, dark hair and a blood-red mask who roamed the streets after sunset, asking strangers a simple yet sinister question: "Am I beautiful?" Haruto Tanaka, a 34-year-old urban legend researcher and skeptic, had heard the tale countless times. But when reports of recent sightings began circulating online, the rumors felt different, darker. Murmurs of missing people, eerie encounters, and strange claw marks left on walls were impossible to ignore. Against his better judgment, Haruto decided to investigate. "I'll prove it's just another baseless rumor," he muttered to himself, packing his camera, notebook, and a small flashlight. Yet deep inside, something primal gnawed at him, an inexplicable unease. The next morning, Haruto began his investigation at a local library, poring over old news articles and folklore archives. According to legend, Kuchisake-Onna was a vengeful spirit of a woman betrayed by her lover, who had disfigured her face in a fit of jealousy. Her spirit now wandered the mortal world, seeking validation for her beauty, punishing those who dared to answer incorrectly or failed to answer at all. As Haruto dug deeper, he found more unsettling accounts. Photos of grotesque claw marks on alley walls, grainy security footage of shadowy figures, and first-hand accounts of people who had barely escaped her. The stories shared a common thread. Each encounter happened late at night in desolate areas, with Kuchisake-Onna whispering her chilling question before striking. Haruto's curiosity grew, but so did his unease. That night, he ventured to one of the alleged sighting spots, a narrow, dimly lit alley lined with flickering neon signs. The air was heavy with the smell of rain-soaked asphalt. As he wandered deeper into the alley, he noticed something strange. The usual city hum had faded, leaving behind an unnatural silence. Then he saw it, a faint shadow moving at the edge of his vision. "Who's there?" Haruto called out, his voice echoing off the narrow walls. He turned, heart pounding, but saw nothing. Just as he was about to leave, a soft, almost melodic voice pierced the silence. "Do you think I'm beautiful?" Haruto froze. The voice came from behind him. Slowly, he turned around to see a woman standing under a flickering streetlight. Her long, jet-black hair obscured much of her face, but the lower half was covered by a surgical mask. Her head tilted unnaturally, her dark eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his skin crawl. I think so," Haruto stammered, his skepticism wavering under the weight of her presence. The woman stepped closer, her heels clicking against the wet pavement. "Even now?" she whispered, pulling down her mask to reveal a grotesque, jagged smile carved from ear to ear. Her teeth, yellow and sharp, glinted in the dim light. Haruto stumbled back, barely managing to nod. "Yes, you're beautiful," he blurted, his voice trembling. For a moment, the woman stood still, her head cocked at an unnatural angle, as if considering his answer. Then, without another word, she vanished into the shadows. Shaken but alive, Haruto retreated to his apartment. He replayed the encounter in his mind, trying to rationalize what he had seen. Had it been a prank, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion? The following days brought more reports of sightings and disappearances. Desperate for answers, Haruto tracked down an elderly historian named Etsuko, who had written extensively about local folklore. "Why does she haunt the living?" Haruto asked, his voice tinged with urgency. Etsuko's gaze darkened. "Kuchisake-Onna is a spirit consumed by rage and sorrow. She was betrayed, humiliated, and left to die. Her question is not one of vanity, but of torment. She seeks validation, yet no answer can satisfy her." Haruto leaned in. "Then how do you survive her?" Etsuko hesitated before answering. "Some say she can be confused, offer vague answers, or distract her with treats like candies. But beware, once you've caught her attention, she will not stop until she has you." Determined to end the terror, Haruto devised a plan. Armed with everything he had learned, he ventured to an abandoned district where Kuchisake-Onna had been most active. The streets were eerily quiet, the air thick with an unshakable sense of dread. As midnight struck, Haruto felt her presence before he saw her. The temperature dropped, and a foul smell filled the air. Then she appeared, her silhouette illuminated by the pale moonlight. "Do you think I'm beautiful?" she asked, her voice echoing unnaturally. Haruto swallowed hard, remembering Etsuko's advice. You have a unique beauty," he replied, his voice steady despite the fear clawing at his chest. Kuchisake-Onna paused, her head tilting as if pondering his words. But this time, she didn't vanish. Instead, she lunged forward, her claw-like fingers aiming for his throat. Haruto barely dodged, stumbling backward as she let out an ear-piercing scream. He fumbled for the candies in his pocket, throwing them at her. To his shock, she stopped mid-attack, crouching to pick them up like a ravenous animal. Taking the chance, Haruto ran. But as he turned a corner, he found himself face to face with her once again. "Do you think I'm beautiful?" she asked, her bloody smile widening unnaturally. Haruto's breath caught in his throat. He realized then that there was no escaping her. She wasn't just a spirit tied to one place. She was everywhere, her curse woven into the fabric of the city. Desperate, he blurted out, "You're beautiful in your own way." For a moment, Kuchisake-Onna seemed appeased, but then her smile widened impossibly, her voice a guttural whisper, "Liar." The last thing Haruto saw was her grotesque face inches from his, her claws descending as darkness consumed him. Days later, his camera was found in the alley, the final footage showing Haruto's terrified face and a shadow creeping up behind him. The legend of Kuchisake-Onna lived on, her curse spreading with each retelling, waiting for her next victim.